professional over here. Right, yeah, Andy, you don't need to record the whole thing because I got that all set up now. Trying to upload the after they're when they're done. I'll like which all right, let's wait for a few people to join up. It's usually how this works. It takes a few people to come on in. I couldn't find any tarot themed beers for tonight. I went to the store and they didn't have any. But so I went with Fat Orange Cat, Dazed and Confused, and then it was Teenage Kittens, which I was like, but then the art got me, so I'm into it. It actually tastes pretty good too. Yeah, it's weird. I think is it after I was gonna say, is it after the Dazed and Confused characters? Some of them are, but I've I like that movie, but I have a friend who loved it so much that I'm just like, all right, pump the brakes a little bit, man. Like, it's good, but come on. And I'm gonna share the I'm gonna share the show now. And anybody in chat, if you want to share the show, that would be awesome. Get this up and rolling here. Open. There we go. There we go. Yeah, you can hit the little share button. I guess that's like ubiquitous across all apps now, right? The little page with the arrow. Not 100% anymore. I think Steph at the shop the other day was at the tattoo shop I work at. The piercer Steph, she was like, "What do those 3 dots mean on the like website?" And I was like, "That's usually what the menu is, you know." She's like, "I never would have thought of the 3 dots being a menu." Becky, Amanda, how's everybody doing today? We got Carly, the Village Tarot Witch, coming on in like 10 minutes. So if you got any questions for her regarding tarot, I know basically nothing about tarot except for like the killer used cards to do something. And then, you know, everybody's got like their pictures of the tarot cards and, you know, sticks around it and say that it means things. So I was like, oh, cool. I guess. I don't know. So excited to chat with Carly about all of it. So if you don't follow her already, it's at the Village Tarot Witch on Instagram. So awesome videos, super high quality. So head on over. Dustin. Anybody else to come in? If you want to share the page for me, that would be awesome. And I don't know if Fridays are the best days to do these or not. So Fridays on Popshop. Let me turn this down a little bit. Fridays on Popshop are free shipping, which is pretty sweet. But I'm not sure if Friday nights are the best for like a live kind of show deal. I'm not 100%, but yeah, I don't really care that much. I just like getting on, talking to people. But if we had more like engagement with like people in comments, stuff like that on like a Monday, Tuesday, I don't even know what a better day was. Do you guys think of like a better time you'd want to tune into something like this? I of course want it to be at night, so I could have like creepy lights and like be in the little cave when the studio's finished being built. I'll have like a better spot. But right now, I just have was it Lord of the Rings, Gladiator, and a couple movie posters behind us. yeah, so I'm not sure what days would be best. I have to figure. I'll probably like do a poll on one of the socials. The Hellmouth has only like 150 or something followers, so we're slowly growing. But you know how it is these days, trying to nudge your way into this kind of space. So um, I've been doing this for like 2 years, and the first year it was like super inconsistent, and this is the year that I was just like, all right, let's just make it a thing. We're gonna do it every other week. We'll get some cool guests on and everything. So excited to see what the future holds, and excited to speak to Carly in a little bit. So I have the show schedule on here. Today wasn't like a super eventful one. If you look down at where like you can shop on the bottom right hand side of your screen, the schedule isn't very. It was just like 8:15. Carly comes on, so there's that, and also I added a tip function for all of our guests that come on. So if you want to come on and be like, "Hey, this person generously donated their time," then you can pop a tip on for them. And for some reason, it's not in inventory. Let me find it. Oh, there it is. Well, I'll do that after, but let me shill a couple pins first, and I'll pop that tip thing up for when Carly comes on. So, first up, I have these sweet Art Bell pins right here. The founder of Coast to Coast AM, and you see him on a little, like, it's a 2-inch hard nail pin, 7 layers of screen printing on there, a little alien and UFO behind him. Love. I really like it, and it's got the Hellmouth back stamp on the back. We got that, and then I know in the store we have these two Krampus pins up, but they're glow in the dark. There's a smoke. There's a smoke variant, which you can't really see. Like there's like little speckle smoke swirls inside of it, and then the frost variant, which I think I'm almost sold out of this one. I think I have like 5 left. It's hard to see on these. And then what else we got here for you in the little store? Oh yeah, I've got the abduction pin, which I got 2 variants on it, but this one a little black skeleton with some flames and some glitter fire background. Look at this sick planet. Where is the camera on this? I don't even. There we go. A little blurry here. What's that? And then another new pin that just came in a couple weeks ago. Let me add from inventory. Pop it in here. Popshop's being a little slow today. And I've got the Sasquatch Howler pin. Kind of like a monochromatic color scale and all that. But I got t-shirts, I got pins, I got posters, I got a whole bunch of stuff in the shop. So feel free to shop at any time. Shipping is free today. So anybody that wants to grab anything, load up. It's on Popshop's dime. How cool is that? So much appreciated, Popshop. They decided to do this every Friday now, I guess. So who knows how long it's gonna happen. So what else we got? So for June, I think there's not going to be a show in the beginning of June because of I'm going on a small vacation. It's my girlfriend and I's birthday, so gonna wait and still trying to hear back from Tim when he gets back from the Amazon. So he possibly will be the guest for the mid to end of June. And I'm working on a couple people. I'm working on. I'm not gonna say who else we got going, but we got some flat Earth stuff going, which, hey, whatever, right? Uh, I don't agree, but I'm not like a detail person, so they're gonna come at me with all these like facts. Well, if gravity doesn't exist, the globe, the water would spill right off. I'll just be like, oh yeah, maybe, yeah, and I'll just be convinced, and I'll be a flat Earth shill for. I'll change this to the flat mouth. It's a bad joke. I'm sorry. Hey, I tattooed all day today. I'm wiped. So I'm gonna apologize in advance to Carly for not getting the hard hitting questions that she deserves, but it'll still be a good time anyway. I did. What did I do? I had a snake and chrysanthemum piece on somebody today, and we just like worked on the color. There's a lot of like little tiny color variations in it, so we worked on that for quite a while. And then I've got a client that I see every 2 weeks. We're slowly filling them up, and we're just like pecking away at different stuff. So I have a giant Poseidon piece on his back right now that we're working on, and there's like a sea creature coming up, and it's looking pretty cool. But it's all in various stages of being done. So yeah, but it's one of those things where you're just there and being like, oh, all right, here we go. Amanda, thanks for picking up the Mothman 3-inch vinyl sticker. I actually just got some tarot stickers made, I think, in honor of the show. Did I pop them up yet? No, hold on. I'll pop them up. I should have done that first. Where are they? Since Popshop's being a little slow. So people that don't know what I'm doing, I'm scrolling and I'm trying to put the things up in the store because you can do that within the app. But it just looks like I'm like an old man being like, what's going on here? But the store is just like spinning on me, so who knows what's going on. If we just like wait like a second, I don't know why isn't showing up. Oh wait, there it is. Found it. Bam. There you go. Oh. So future looks bright. The construction on the podcast studio got derailed a little bit because of one of the people that was helping me. So since I'm a tattooer, I don't know how to do anything else besides draw. So I have friends that like flipped houses and everything, and they were just like, all right, we'll help you get some walls up and all that stuff. I'm like, great. But one of them got COVID, so we had to postpone. And it's a bummer, but that's all right. I don't really. The day that we were supposed to work on it, it was like 92 degrees here, so I wasn't excited to do it. So hopefully it's not 93 degrees next time. Fat orange cat, dazed and confused, teenage kittens. So pretty sweet. Mike from Booze and Brews didn't have any tarot themed beers for me this week. So what are you gonna do? All right, so I'm gonna end the Hellmouth theme song because most of the time I have it playing the entire show. So what we'll do is I'll put this little playlist that I got going for this, and here we go. And we'll get Carly on. And if you do me one last favor, if you just want to hit the little share button on the top right, we can get this show up and running. All right, so let's find Carly on the list here. Carly, you ready? I'm sure her silence means a yes. Oh, they're ready. Perfect. All right, so let's pop you in here. Try to call him. There we go. Bam. Hey.
Hey, I'm glad that I just said answer because I was like, I don't know how to use this app. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's all a big like learning process. So
it is a learning process. I'm always down to learn new things. Yeah. Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to show up. Like I said, I saw your Instagram account and I had listened to some like Haunted Housewives podcast before, like a while ago, and I was like, oh, perfect. So I just decided to reach out, and all your videos are like so awesome and like so like upbeat, even though there's that little like little jabs and some stuff. I enjoy some snarkiness to it,
Thank you. I take real pride in being able to be both sarcastic and fun at the same time.
Yeah.
So
much appreciated. So yeah. I set this up a lot. Can people hear like the echo behind me of me talking?
I can't hear any echo.
No?
I don't know. I guess like, maybe. Okay, so Andy B in the comments says no, he can't hear an echo either. So I think you're good to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I just have Popshop doesn't let you download the videos yet. so I wanted to like upload it on YouTube and all that stuff, but like so I screen recorded and another. It's a pain in the ass, but perfect. I'm glad that's working. I'll just have to like ignore it.
Yes. So, just ignore it. Ignore the whole thing. It's fine. You sound great.
Honed right in. So
exactly.
Like, put in like all the promos I did. It's like tarot's one of those things that I always like. You see, and you think, oh, those look cool. The cards are cool. All the art looks cool.
This looks great. Yeah.
The whole like vibe that it puts off is cool, and like I know that you love this all like the creepy kind of stuff like works out.
So I do. Yeah.
What I'm a little confused is like, what is it actually? Is it just like in my brain? I'm thinking
that's
like,
a big question. How long do you want me to ramble for?
We can go all night, but the I think of it as like they're like writing prompts.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good way to think of them because you can use tarot in like the traditional fortune telling sense. I don't use it like that, but you definitely can. If you're like, how's this job interview going to work out? You can ask the cards and see what they have to say. But the thing to keep in mind with that is that if there's more than one party involved, if it's you and someone else, you can't be guaranteed an entirely accurate reading because it's not just you that the reading is about. It's also about your employer. Like, you interviewed well, but did another person also interview better than you? Because all of those things will come into play. So what I use tarot for is to look more about what's going on inside of you. So if you're going through a shit time, I'm your gal. That's my...
I get a lot of that in the tattoo shop where a lot of people will just like load on you.
I bet you do. So I'm not an unloader in the tattoo shop, but occasionally I will hold up a big piece for when I'm like, I really need to get this out of my system. I don't say anything. I'm just like, yes, tattoo the shit out of me, and I'll just think about it.
That's like, it's one of those things that a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, there's like a handful of people that come in and say like, oh, I could fall asleep during this. And I was like, well, most likely not. No. What's happening is like you don't meditate, but you're getting into a meditative state.
Yes. And that's exactly. I've told so many people that, and they did not understand it. I was like, no, it's amazing. You just shut off the pain receptors and just like float somewhere else. It's the best feeling. I love it.
And the people that are having like a really hard time, I'm like, the best thing for you to do right now is like submit. It's a thing, you know.
Stop talking. Go with the flow.
Okay? You're here. The shit's getting done. There's, you like tensing up and being all like is only going to make it worse for all parties.
It does. It does make it worse. Yes, I'm an excellent tattoo sitter. I will say this about myself.
Oh well.
I am great. I put a grown man to shame a few months ago when I was getting a tattoo. I was like,
well, I think 99% of women handle tattooing better than men. So,
you know what?
Yeah,
I like this.
It's one of those things where a lot of people, a lot of dudes come in and they're just like all but like women, no problem.
I can do this. No, can you though? Can you? I was a little bit surprised. So I have a tarot piece on my arm right here.
Oh, nice.
It's a little hard to show. It's gorgeous, but I was genuinely surprised at how bad that one hurt because I've had tattoos on several other painful places, and I was like, it's fine. It's fine. I went in, I was like, okay, that one stung a bit.
Yeah. So to get back to the tarot stuff,
yes.
When I'm saying like, so when you're saying that like the cards are or like the cards are reading like all the parties involved, like what I know this is like kind of like one of those amorphous questions. It'd be like, what? Who's reading what? You know what I mean? Like, what's
right? So I think that it will depend on who your reader is. I will tell you that I think that there is a higher power answering these questions. I don't know who it is. I'm not going to tell you that I know who it is. But I will say that I think that there is some sort of higher consciousness giving me these answers because it is genuinely things that I don't like. Unless you're like my best friend and I know every aspect of your life, these are details that I don't really have any way of knowing unless it's somebody else being like, yes, connect these dots. This is the information that you need right now. And that happens sometimes. I read for some people who are very private and it's much harder to get a reading. I do the best I can and I just say, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what this is about, but this is what I take from
Yeah.
it. So, I don't think that all readers do that, but I do. It's kind of it's a sticking point for me to be like, I don't want to pretend like I know more than I do. So if I don't know
Right.
something, I will always tell you.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, I think I had the last show I had these ghost hunter guys on, and we just like talked about the whole thing. And he's just like, I'm a pretty big skeptic. I'm not going to believe that just because I hear footsteps, like they're ghosts. Like, I think the honesty
right,
in this
exactly.
kind of like realm and talking about all that stuff, like none of us know shit. Some people
Exactly.
tuned
Thank
into
you.
some stuff, you know. So I think they have the honesty about
Yes.
you a more authentic person, and especially what you're doing. I think that ring because like something that's can be so filled with like charlatans and
It
people.
really can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, it can be. There's a lot of scam accounts right now too, which is
Yeah,
a particular problem for me at the moment, but they will message people that follow you. They'll clone your account and message and say Grand Rising, Grand Rising. What does that mean? I don't fucking know,
yeah,
but
I don't
Grand
fucking
Rising. If you get a message with Grand Rising, you should run the other way because it's not a
know.
legitimate tarot reader. But it's really hard in this business and maybe that's why I maybe have taken it to an extreme where I've been like, I will fully admit that I don't know the answers that I'm telling you.
Mhm.
But I do it in a way that makes sense. I'm not gonna lie. If I don't know something, I'll tell the
Mhm.
truth about it. But I think that that is almost a response from me towards all the fake accounts where I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I cannot control that you are pretending to be me right now, but I can be honest about the fact that I don't always know. I
there's
know a
a
lot, but every once in a while, there is definitely times when I read for people who were closed off enough that I was like, I won't pretend otherwise. I'm not sure what this is about. I know that it means something, and I know that it's probably significant for you, but I can't tell you why.
mhm.
And so, if you are looking for someone to like take a quick glimpse and know all of the details of your life, you should probably go somewhere else. But it's an interesting glimpse at the way people are thinking and feeling in the moment because that's really how I use the cards. Is like if I pulled for you right now, I could get a quick like snapshot of your life depending on the situation. I won't
Mhm.
pretend like I can do it every time, but that gives me just enough information to be like, okay, I kind of see what's going on. Let's talk about this.
Yeah,
Let's work through some of these issues. But that is how I use tarot, is as a self-help tool more
mhm.
than anything else, because unless there if there is anybody else involved, it's not entirely ethical for me to
Yeah.
tell you these answers because it's more than one person.
You know, there
They
was
can choose too.
I there was I think it was on a coast to coast show or like how whatever somebody's being interviewed and they said that they had a surefire way to speak with, and I've told this story on the show many times. uh,
Right.
they had the surefire way to speak with like their passed on loved ones, right? And they went through and they talked about like how they do it, their shop that they own, and all this kind of stuff. And then the host was like, "Is this real?" And then the guy responded with, "Does it matter?" And I was like, that stuck with me for a very long
Huh.
time. And I was just like, "Fuck,
I'm
he's
not gonna
right,
lie
dude.
to you.
It
Fuck,
doesn't
he
really."
is right. I
Yeah,
was fully prepared. I had a witty retort like stashed in my brain. I was like,
yeah,
well, fuck that guy. First of all, it doesn't matter. But also, he's kind of right. It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. As
And
long,
that is kind of that's not the attitude that I take because I do pass on messages and I take them seriously, but I also know that they are under no obligation to talk to me. So if I reach out to your loved one and they don't answer, that's their choice. And that's a confusing thing for people to like wrap their
yeah,
heads around because it's like, well, why wouldn't they? I'm like, well, also,
they're
why would
fucking
they
busy.
want some rando girl being like, hey, tell me
Yeah,
your story,
yeah. Oh
you
man,
know? So
yeah. I had a couple like a month ago. I think I had a paranormal researcher and a like ghost horror person. I don't know if there's a specific word for that. I don't know. But anyway,
Right.
I was saying like somebody who's so enmeshed in this kind of thing, like how do you like deal with your day to day and all this kind of stuff. And she just talked about like spirit world being this like just another dimension with a menagerie of different characters and
Right. Yeah.
other
I would
things
agree
that
with that.
we might
Yeah.
not even think is he doesn't have even have to be a human. Like I listened to a Bigfoot podcast and a guy was like, I definitely ran into the ghost of Bigfoot, and I was like, huh, that was a first for me of hearing
Did you
Bigfoot.
know?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I have talked to, I have a few friends in the cryptid community, and they've asked me questions for Bigfoot before, which I've asked the cards. It was a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, I would agree with that. Like there's a lot going on in the spirit realm. I had somebody the other day ask me, who said like after COVID it must be crowded in the spirit realm. How does that work? And I was like, honestly, I don't fucking know. I was like,
Yeah,
I can't tell you why some ghosts will come to me and be like, hey, let me tell you these things.
yeah,
And then other ghosts will pass me by. I'm not sure how the ranking system works there.
right.
But yeah, that's a really interesting response. And I would I would agree. There's more than we can understand. And I think that trying to pretend like you know it all is
Right.
a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I kind of like when people's it's kind of like I don't know if it's a petty thing for me or something like that, but there's a guy. His name was Richard C. Hoagland. He was all about the face on Mars, face on Mars,
Right.
NASA's
Right.
all this
Yeah.
stuff. And as soon as we got those pictures and like you actually saw what it was, like silence. And I kind of love that when everything comes crashing down. Like you're like,
Yep.
you're
Yep. I do
all right,
too. I'm
hey,
like,
let's
haha,
yeah,
vindicated.
let's reset and be like. And now I think he's got some other stuff. I don't know. He had a
Right.
career on that stuff, but for some reason I love all that stuff. But so
You
do
too.
you
Yeah.
if you're if you're reading and if you think this is a higher entity or power, like is does it feel singular or does it feel like a was it remote viewing? Like I don't know if you read anything about that or anything, but
Right.
basically,
So, yeah, I am familiar with the concept. And
yeah,
the answer is it's complicated. So it
okay.
will depend on the situation. Um, I offer a reading that's like, I think I call it the fuck ghosts or something like that. And it's
Oh, yeah,
basically like you have ghosts popping in and you want to know why. I will tell you why. But this particular one was really hard to work out because it was multiple spirits. And I was like, you're crossing wires here. It's making it really hard to work
yeah,
out, but it won't always be the exact same. I've talked to land spirits, which is really fun. They feel really different than I've talked to land spirits and deities and ghosts, pretty much the whole gambit. And they each feel slightly different to me. So once I'm reading, I'm like, okay, I recognize this energy. Are you this, or this? And kind of narrow it down from there. But that whoever you talked to before, or whoever said that before, is right, that there's a lot going on, like,
yeah,
all of the time. It's kinda hard to suss out.
yeah. Sifting through like this just forest of like craziness that you
Yeah,
can't see, and you're like, hey, there's something here, and
right. That does make it hard because I don't see things either.
right,
That's something that a lot of people ask is if I see things, I don't see things, I just feel things. So,
mm-hmm.
like, I can recognize I don't know if you want to call them energy signatures, but if you want to call them energy signatures, I can once I've read for it, I can recognize it and be
Mm-hmm.
like, right, this Bigfoot reading felt like this other thing. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe does that mean is Bigfoot a ghost or is Bigfoot an ultra terrestrial or is Bigfoot a I don't know. There's too many other
Yeah.
phrases. There's too many Bigfoot theories here, but the point is that yeah, it's a complicated answer.
Oh, oh. So I saw on I think I was reading on like one of your blogs something like that you just had um a story just come to you from like you just and you didn't know like what I think it was like a couple story or something like that. It doesn't really matter about like the specifics about it, but I was like,
Right.
do
On
sometimes you just like do readings and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, like this something's coming through. Let me like try to suss it out? Does that happen regularly,
Yeah,
or is that
so
like?
if I am so normally I won't go digging with the cards unless I have cause. Like
Mm,
if I have felt like there was a spirit hanging around and I'll be like, "The fuck? What do you want? Tell me. Tell me these things." I don't know exactly which one you were reading on the blog, but there have been a few different times when I was like, "Okay, you came to me.
yeah,
What would you like to say?" And in those cases, there are times when I do it easier with past lives where I can kind of separate myself. And it's almost like remote viewing where it doesn't happen frequently, but when it does happen, I'm like, okay, well, I can see you have a red scarf on, or whatever the fuck, whatever
hmm,
the situation may be, and I can describe it to you, but I don't do it consistently.
yeah,
So, um Andy B, I talked to a medium who said I was being followed by several spirits, but he said they were all too loud to figure out what one or the other was trying to say to me. That happens to me too. It is confusing when there's multiple spirits involved because it's almost like they're both talking to you at once. So it'd be like if I was sitting here and there was two people talking at me at once and you're kind of bouncing back and
yeah.
forth being like, "Well, who is saying what?" So it is a little bit harder to make sense of if there is for sure multiple spirits there. Yes.
And is there like a, if that happens during one of your readings, do you like push to see if you can kind of like nudge one around, or is that a thing, or you just kind of like
Yeah, so what I normally do is I will take like 5 minutes and be like, I'm a little bit confused, and I will ask if I am on the right track. So the most recent time that this happened, when I had the two different spirits in the reading, I was pretty sure that I was understanding what they were saying. In this case, they were a married couple. So like I was asking for clarity on if I had understood the situation correctly. Were they a married couple?
yeah,
Did I mistake anything? And based on the cards that I received from that, then I'll take it and be like, okay, right track. So in that case, I got a card that represented grandfather, grandmother, and a happy marriage. So I was like, okay, cool. I interpreted this correctly. This is a loving couple. Why they're with this person, I don't entirely know, but like I understood correctly. It's two people. That's why it's confusing. And from there, it should start to make sense. But if it is still um, like fighting over the microphone, so to speak,
yeah,
I will ask for just one of them to come forward and say, like, I am confused. Can just one of you speak?
yeah,
One at a time. That helps a lot.
yeah. Do they seem like a little cooperative? I mean, I know it's not like you're having an actual conversation, so I don't want to make it sound like that, but does that typically kind of like work to like clear the room if you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it kind of does. It will depend on the situation, but it generally works for me if I'm like, I'm trying. I'm really trying my best to give this message, but I can't understand both of you, so I need just one of you to speak, and then, you can take turns however you want to work it out. It makes it more clear for me. But Andy B said he ended up giving me my money back because he couldn't get anything. And that happens too. And I'm honest about it also.
mm,
If I don't know, if I can't get anything or if I'm confused, I won't I'm not gonna bullshit
yeah,
it. So Andy, I feel like you got a pretty good reader, because if you had someone who wasn't a good reader, they wouldn't have given you your money back. So that's something that I would have done too,
mhm,
is been like, I'm really sorry you booked this with me. I wanted to give you this message. I'm sorry that I couldn't. Here you go.
yeah.
Here's your money back. Um,
I appreciate you handling the comments here. You're better at than I am.
no
Because I'm
worries.
so interested in like talking, and I'm like, and then I'm like, oh, should I read that? I'm like, oh, I don't want to get
No, I'm
derailed.
good. I'm good. No, go on.
Uh, so you touched on it a little bit a minute ago with the past live
Yeah.
regression. So how does that even like start? Because like if you're, I guess I'm still, since everything's all up in the air with all this stuff, right? And you're just like,
Yes,
all right.
it is. It really is. Yeah.
So if, like, I guess decks would have certain intentions, is that kind
Uh-huh.
of thing, and then you've got your intentions, and then you're kind of just like counting on the synchronicity of things to kind of come together.
Yes. Yes. So past lives are interesting. I have a past life deck with me right now, which
Oh,
was a
cool.
stroke of luck because I didn't necessarily intend for that. This is the Art History Tarot for Past Lives. This is the deck that I learned mediumship with. But past lives are interesting to me because I both believe them and I also am a little bit skeptical because
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense to me logically. I'm like, I can understand the concept that a soul is brought back several times until you've learned the lessons that you need to learn, but also from a logical standpoint, there are way more people now than there used to be. So where did these extra souls
Hmm.
come from? I can't explain that to you, but I can tell you that if you have lived before, I am pretty good at telling you who you were and what happened to you. um, and that's a weird thing. That's a thing that I tell people, and they're like, "What? why do you? Why are you saying you can tell me?"
Yeah,
I don't
because
know. It's like a story.
yeah, yeah,
That's
no,
what.
and I think that's what being interested in this kind of stuff, being interested, I
Yes.
mean, and all is like the stories and the allure of like some of the other stuff is like, they're just kind of it's everything. We're all just like telling stories. We're all just trying to figure some stuff out, and it's fun.
Yes. We
And
are all telling stories. I'm using my cards to fill in the pieces, but like technically, like I've done some past life readings where people have been like, I have an extreme fear of water. And I don't know why I'm so afraid of water because it's been like this my whole life. I'm really afraid. Anytime I get near a body of water, I'm afraid. Nothing's ever happened to me. I've never drowned. I've never had any incidents. It's just always been, this is my fear,
mhm,
right? And then you get into the thing where it's like, are you afraid of water because is this like a generational trauma passed on? Did one
yeah,
of your ancestors have a near drowning experience and your DNA is just encoded with this? Sorry, letting my nerd flag fly a little bit here. But, your DNA is encoded with this fear of water,
hmm,
or is it possible that in a past life you drowned and now current you is afraid of water?
you're like
So,
your spirit DNA that is
your spirit DNA.
lagging around.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to, uh,
Yes.
so I mean, is that like a? I know that you do reading stuff on, but is the past life stuff like popular with people, or is they more go more towards like how's most
Yeah, it
do this
is.
stuff or
It is. I don't think that I have a past life reading on my site currently. But I really like doing them, and mostly because it's like it's not that it's low stakes, but it's like I think that might be what makes it easier for me to do them is because I will get into my logical mind a lot. So I'm like, well, but technically we could fact check this and I could be wrong. In a past life, that's pretty hard to
yeah,
do
yeah.
because um
Because I always
yeah,
see like the stories online like Reddit or in TV shows something like that. My past life,
right.
I
I
was
love the Reddit stories.
the daughter of a king or like
Daughter of a king.
prince.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
will say that most of the past life stories that I've done have been a total fucking bummer. Like, I have not talked to a single daughter of a king yet. Everybody's died in just terrible ways. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, you know what, though? That makes sense because you're afraid of this one thing. So, technically, this is
Yeah.
helpful.
And
Yeah.
then in the next life, somebody's gonna do a reading of like, oh, you died in a hospital because you ate too much salt. You're like,
Because
cool.
you ate too much salt. Exactly. You're like, right. Okay, then.
I eat
Steer
a lot of
clear of
salt.
salt. You know what? This is a problem for me. I should have drank more water.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So with we got the past life stuff. If you're doing mediumship, and if we just want to clear this up for me, so if we're doing mediumship, is that
Right.
like speaking with other spirits or
Mhm.
family members, stuff like that,
Yeah.
or whoever you
Yeah.
want to talk to? So when you're doing, I can understand like the if you're talking to. I guess it doesn't really. I'm working it out as I'm talking at the same time,
It's fine.
but
Yeah, keep going.
I
I'm keeping
think
up with you.
I think when somebody's like there, is it easier when people are in front of you? I'd assume versus the like because you do like the online stuff and all that, or does it
Right.
not really matter because of like you're focused on intention, like because you're still drawing from the same well that you would if they were there, but having them there
Yeah.
better, or is it?
So you are drawing from the same well. I will say that if somebody is in front of me, like face to face, if I can see you, I can pick things up a little bit more clearly, or if I know you well. But I do most of my readings are email based, or I have a few Zoom ones, but and I learned digitally. So I was practicing on people that I didn't meet in real life or have in front of me. So for me, I'm like, it doesn't really matter either way. I can do it a little bit easier if
Mhm.
you're face to face, but it doesn't have to be in front of me.
Hmm.
That's the simplest
Yeah,
answer. And that it does have to do a lot with intention. Um, but I also feel like once you recognize the connections, it's kind of easy to just be like, shoop. It will follow them. It's almost like, when you tattoo someone, I'm sure that you get to the point where you're like definitely focused and you're
hmm,
like, we're doing line work right now. I'm not going to fuck up this line work, right?
hmm,
I'm outlining, but there is a part of you that kind of disconnects and is like going through the motions. And it's almost like that. And it's hard to describe because
yeah,
I know that you're not disconnecting and I know that I'm not disconnecting, but it's like that piece of your mind that's allowed to roam free and just gather whatever it can and come back.
mm,
That's kind of the vibe. So
yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're
Kind of
in
like
front of me or not. Yeah.
flow state, I guess, is like one of those similar like
Yes.
states, that
Yes. That was a much better that was a good way to describe it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because a lot of times I have to. I'm a chatty tattooer, so I'm there
Right.
talking to people and all that. But sometimes when there's like a really difficult spot, I'm just like still going ahead and being like, I'm doing what I need to do, but also my brain like shorts out for a second. I'm like, wait, like
Right.
I talk constantly. What's the problem here? And I was like, oh wait, I needed to divert like some kind of energy
Yes.
more to this, and
Exactly. Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
driving and you're like, oh shit, somebody, get out of the way, that kind
Yes.
of stuff. Uh,
Ah.
uh,
Refocus, refocus.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
one of the worst things is when if you're when if you're writing a word and all of a sudden it becomes alien to you.
Oh my
If you
gosh. Yes. And you're like, this word is definitely spelled wrong.
yeah,
It looks wrong. This cannot possibly be right. And then you Google it and you're like, the fuck? How is
mhm.
that? How is
Well,
that
that
the right word? Yeah.
happens in the middle of tattooing, where all of a sudden the plume of terror explodes, and you're like, "Fuck!" And then you're like, "Oh wait, no, they checked it. We checked this already. We're good. So don't worry about it."
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It
uh,
can.
Andrea, thanks for sending a gift to Kelly. I guess you can do that in this app. You can send off like gifts to people if they have their addresses in their profile. So that's a nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So what deck is it that you're going through right now? Is it just kind of like a thing that you do like nonstop?
Yeah. So, yeah, basically. Yeah. Right
Yeah.
now I have just, this is a traditional tarot deck. This is the basic one.
Hmm.
And I will just shuffle for fun, or not for fun, but just to give my hand something to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is and I love, there's a deck, it's called the Tattoo Tarot. I don't have it up with me. I feel like some of them could have been done better. I'm just saying, as a
Yeah.
tattoo artist, you
Yeah.
could look at this. But I have a lot of different decks. Um, and the artwork will be different on them, but this is the most widely recognized
Yep.
tarot deck. So this is a really good one. If you're looking to learn tarot, you can buy it on Amazon. I think it's like 14 bucks. This exact same deck is just like cool. They'll send you a guidebook and you can start saying tarot. Why am I the way that I am?
Oh, that's well. I mean, a lot of people self-diagnose constantly anyway. So
Yes.
so
Yes,
what
exactly.
I guess like a basic question, like what if you started to learn online? Did you start during the pandemic, or did you do this before, or what was your
Right. I
that
started
going?
before. Um, I had been reading for about a year before the pandemic. Um, and then when the pandemic hit is when I opened my Instagram account because I was very bored. I was like, I need something to do with this. And I basically just used it as like a living journal to
Yeah.
copy my readings. Basically, I was like,
Mhm.
this is what is happening with me. It was a surprise to me, as to probably, maybe not probably everybody else, but I was like, huh, this kind of works. This is weird, but all right, let's go with it. So, maybe longer than a year, maybe about 2 years, but yeah. the pandemic is what got me to go on social media with it.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
the pandemic really pushed a lot of people to like do what they, realize, be like, hey, like, why am I working 90 hours a week? Like, I should like refocus and focus on like
yes,
my health and like family and stuff. Because I did the same thing.
yeah,
I was like, why am
yep,
I working so much? Like, I need to like chill out and all that. And then,
yeah.
and
This
then
kind of sucks. What am I doing here?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then bought a house, and I was like, oh wait, I need to work more again. So, uh, but no.
Yes.
So, what what drew you into doing this? Like, what I know that you said that you got into.
Oh,
What drew you
this is
into?
fun.
What was the like? You're like, aha, this is me.
Aha. Aha. This is a little bit of my origin story. So I was raised Mormon in the
Mm-hmm.
Mormon church, and I left Mormonism, and I was like, cool. There's nothing. There is nothing. We are nothing. I went from
Pendulum.
being pendulum, yes, very, very, very black and white religion into, well, if that's not true, then fucking nothing is true.
Yep.
So, I stayed there for a few years, and then we moved to Florida. And I was not born in Texas, but I was raised in Texas. So like that was the only home ground that I really had. And when I moved to Florida, I was like in a new place with new people, and like everything was different. And I think something about that just allowed me to be just open enough. So I had met a couple of women in my neighborhood at the pool who were like, they were talking about like birth charts and things like that. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is,
Yeah.
but go on. I'm listening. Anyways, my house that I live in right now is occasionally haunted. And I had this experience in my house that scared me enough that I had mentioned it to these new friends of mine that, like, I think I had known them for maybe 3 weeks at the time. And I did not believe in ghosts or anything like that when I mentioned it to them. So, like, that's just like setting the stage for the level of
Mm-hmm.
like fear that I was operating under. I was like, well, this was fucking weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And both of them were like, "No, this neighborhood is super haunted. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's something in this neighborhood that like people are just aware weird stuff happens here." And I was like, "Okay, all right. I don't know what to make of this." But they convinced me to have a psychic medium come into my house and clear my house for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that she would give me a card reading at the same time. And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Cool.
Bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I didn't have super high expectations because, again, I didn't believe in literally any of this. So she came over and I was like trailing along behind her. She's blessing my house with holy water. And I was like, huh, this is an experience,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like, she
Yeah.
called Archangel Michael in my son's room, which is
Woo!
like, it's the
Happy Head
archangel
brought
that
out the
you
big gun.
call.
Yeah.
That's right. She brought out the big guns, and I was like, right, cool, 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 cool. But what really got me is afterwards we sat down to do the card reading, and she was doing a past life reading. It was like, I don't know, it was a combination reading, but she was telling me things about me that I haven't expressed to some of the people that I'm closest to at the time. And so I was like, this is like, I barely know these people. There's no way that these women knew these facts about me, right? But
Yeah.
this stranger in front of me was able to look at a deck of cards, look at me, and tell me like some of the deepest, darkest secrets that, like, I mean, that sounds dramatic. It wasn't that deep or
Yeah.
dark,
Yeah.
but like, she was like, hey, is this a thing for you? And I was like, it fucking is. Yeah, you're right. That is a thing for me. And then she stopped and she was like, they're telling me that this is going to be really important for you. And she reached into her bag and pulled out a deck of her cards and gave them to me and was like, here, you need these. And I was like,
Yeah. But
okay,
stowed on you. Yeah.
thank you. I don't
Yeah.
know what to do with this, but thank you very much. I'm holding this deck of cards in my hands. And I started using them that same day, and it pretty much clicked like immediately. I was like, right, okay, cool. Same page, same page. This is
Yeah.
what I was missing. Just give me a deck of cards. I'm good to go. But yeah,
No, I mean that's like a classic like superhero story of I just picture like the like
kind
an
of is,
old like
yeah.
magical or old woman coming in like, yeah, take these, you'll need these.
Mhm.
Um, no, that's
You will need these on your journey.
yeah,
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 that is that. Yeah, that's what happened, and I was fucking awkward about it. I'll tell you that
yeah,
much. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Thank you
yeah,
very much. Thank you for these cards. I'm just gonna I, like gently put them next to me, and I was like, cool. What are we gonna do here?
yeah.
Cool.
So if that was like when that started, when because I'm sure it doesn't like click right away, like because just like anything, you've got to
Yeah.
practice and you've got to like hone and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
there a time when you were just like, this is it? This is like what I want to do with like my being? Because I don't know what you do if
With
you
my
do
being.
for like work. If there's something else that's might be like fulfilling or as fulfilling, but it seems like you're so into this. Like this is like what
This
this
is it. Yeah,
you
this
know.
is kind of it for me. Yeah, so I do readings professionally. And I think that at first when I was still learning, I was like, I don't know why anybody would want to listen to me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep. Yep.
I know what I'm doing now, but like at the time, I'm not sure it really clicked. That once I started talking to ghosts specifically, I was like, yes, I'm in. This is what I want to do all day, every day. I've been on ghost hunts with some of my ghost hunting friends, and I'll do a card reading in tandem with an EVP session, and the cards and the EVPs will line up, and it is glorious to
Yeah.
behold. It's like the most fun, I think. I'm not sure that anything is more fun, and I say that knowing that there are some very fun things out there. But yeah, I think that once I started doing mediumship, I was like, this is it for me. This is what I want to do. This is this is my path. Give me your dead people, please. Let me just
Yeah.
talk to them for a little
Yeah.
while.
Let me cradle them and brush their hair back.
Yes,
I got them.
tell me that. Let me tell. You know what? They can tell me their sad stories, and I'll sit here and I'll tell you their sad stories and be like, but it's fine. They're good with it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
They're gallivanting this new realm that we can all like. We'll all see some one day. You know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll all see someday. Yeah.
So, have you done a past life reading on yourself?
They are harder to do on myself. I have
Mhm.
done some on myself. And those are always interesting because I feel like every time you do a past life reading, you get little nuggets that are like relevant to your current life
Yeah.
situation. Um, so the most recent past life one that I did on myself had a lot to do with like culty behavior. And I was like, you know what though? This makes sense to me because I was raised Mormon. So I was like, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. That cult mentality is a little bit hard to break out of or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
they're fun to do. They're easier for other people. And I'm not sure why that is, but I've heard a few other readers say the same thing that when it's not you, it's easier
Hmm.
to read for.
I wonder if it's like kind of like if your own energy is in the way
I
of
think it might be.
being able to
Yeah.
of.
Because I overthink it a lot more if it's me. Like if
Mhm.
I'm sitting down and I'm like, I want to know who past me was, because then I immediately have the lens of, well, but I'm me right now. So,
Yeah.
but when it's somebody else, it doesn't matter as much because I'm like, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Because you're
switch it off.
thinking of them in a different like a fourth dimension of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Yeah.
they're not their present. Yeah, they're not their present person. And
Yes.
so I like that because I like the idea like I brought up before of remote viewing because I got the government handbook on how to remote view like a lot.
Did you? Have you tried it?
I did, yeah. I was like, I think it was like, let's say it was, I don't remember, but let's say it was 12 chapters, right?
Right.
I read the first three chapters, like going through. I'm like, all right, peeling it. I'm like doing all these exercises to like learn how to clear your mind and how to pluck information out of like the ether or whatever. And the next step, it was like, all right, now find an experienced remote viewer. And I was like, well, that's it.
I'm out.
Because
I'm out now.
because
Yeah.
I can't do anything else. But a lot of that booklet was just talking about how human beings were our radio receivers and our brains are shielding us from all this information and
Right. Right.
you have to hone like, and then when you think about like, where's Alexei Stroganoff, and you're just like, oh, he's over by the airport, and usually you hook and you can pluck out the information. So I think like
Right.
this kind of stuff seems very similar, and you know
Hmm.
we'll never know. So making these connections might be completely,
It is
but it's like
similar.
it's fun to
It
explore.
is similar. It is fun to explore. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the kind of attitude that I try to adopt and be like, I've said this a few times, but I do try to be pretty straightforward. If I'm like, I don't fucking
Yeah,
know, I will tell you. And I have said those words to actual paying clients where I'm like, maybe I didn't say I don't fucking know, but where I'm
right.
like, I'm going to be real with you right now. I'm not 100% sure what direction they're talking about, but I know it's important. So here's this information. Make of it what you will. Like, I can't tell you why it's important to you to know that this one thing happened, but here you go.
Yeah,
Here is this information that I have. Um, Generally pretty right, but I don't always know why I'm right until afterwards if they fill me in because,
hmm
it's their choice to be like, you were right. This and this thing happened. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for that. Thank
yeah.
you. But yeah,
Uh,
it makes a difference.
so it's kind of like like those old those the kind of like the psychics that would come on and be like, "We're hearing
Yeah.
a Billy," stuff like that. But it's like posts where you find you're not like just
Yes.
searching for that. Like they get back to you and be like, "Okay," like, "Oh, I was right about this. Cool."
Yes, exactly. So really the only way that I have 100% confirmation is if someone that I've read for will tell me directly, like, "Hey, you were right about this and here's why you're right." And then I'm like, "Fuck yes, I was right. I
Yeah.
knew I was right, but also thank you."
So do you still? I know that you do the or you did the haunted housewives. Do you still do that? I looked for it on Spotify this morning because I was like, oh, maybe I'll listen one just in preparation, and it wasn't on Spotify anymore. Did it? Are you guys
Right.
another platform or anything?
No, so what happened is we had searched the name Haunted Housewives podcast before we started and we did not find anything. But we were contacted recently by another group out of another state who had trademarked the name The Haunted
Uh,
Housewives.
uh,
So, like we did search for them and we didn't find them. There was a few other haunted housewives on Instagram specifically, but we didn't come across this particular group. But we looked into their trademark, and they did have an active trademark on the haunted housewives. So we decided that rebranding would be the best thing for us
yeah,
because, like, it never would be our intention to step on somebody else's
yeah,
toes. And we could argue that we have good claim to the name, but, it's not worth
yeah,
I don't really like the drama. I'm
yeah,
like, "Cool, cool, 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 cool. We
yeah.
will you know what? We will figure this out." So right now we're in a weird rebranding phase where, like, what are we gonna come back as? I don't
Yeah,
know. It'll be something.
yeah, yeah. Because I guess if they reached out enough to you to be like, or and they bothered to trademark it, they're like they want it. And you're like, okay,
I want it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a bummer. I really like what we have created under the name Haunted Housewives Podcast, but um, maybe there is potential for more, for
yeah,
fresh things to come afoot. So, yeah, so for right now, Haunted Housewives is on a sort of indefinite pause.
yeah.
But I will be launching a video series on my own soon too. So through my Village Terror Witch page. So the storytelling will continue. Is
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, and your videos are like pretty high quality for like
Thank
other
you.
people.
Yes.
That in itself like speaks to like your love of the craft. So thank you for
Yeah.
putting together
Yeah.
cool stuff.
I really love what I do a lot. So,
Hmm
it makes me excited every day to wake up and see what am I going to get to ask the
Yeah.
cards today. I don't always know. I've had some really interesting questions come in recently, and today I was messing around with a friend, but I was like their internet wasn't working, so I was like, why isn't their internet working? And the answer was mean, it was tongue in cheek. It was funny. Like it wasn't like a real like, here you go. But even then, they were like, "We'll tell you why. We'll tell you why. Wires got crossed." So, yeah,
Yeah, because
I love what I do, and I'm glad that that comes across too, because it's the whole point.
yeah, yeah, and I think that I never even thought of using something like this because it always seems so like dire and serious.
Yeah,
That use like
yeah.
arrow or like mediumship or anything for like something kind of silly and fun is like cool. You know, it's fun because they'll be like,
I
"Look, don't
know.
want to bug the spirits." Like, who knows?
Don't wanna bug the spirits.
Yeah,
Hi, hello, here I am to bug the spirits on
yeah,
your behalf. That's kind of my profession.
yeah.
Um, no, I love it when I get the weird questions because I'm like, I will almost always start out the email with, I don't know if I can answer this, but here's
Mm-hmm.
what I got. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to poke around and enjoy what you do because I will get a lot of serious readings where like I know that they need to hear the message as it's intended. They're going through a rough time. They need to be uplifted. But I think that it's equally important to find the fun in things. And even something that's serious like tarot, you can have a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I guess like because with all like the seriousness and all of like the dire questions and you dealing with like death and all that stuff. I remember before I was a tattoo artist, I was a freelance artist. I was ended up being like the weirdo. I had a conspiracy website that like a news aggregator, right? And
right.
I had a little journal, and I was writing down the JFK assassination. I was right where people were, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm
What
not.
am I why am I doing
Yeah,
this?
and it's like 4:30 in the morning. I shut everything down, and then I got a part-time job cab driving because I was like, I like to talk to people, I like to be out, I can drive no problem. And the cab driving job was great at first, but then we got the contracts to bring people to the methadone appointments, right? And
Right.
I don't judge anybody. Everybody's got their own issues. Everybody's into weird stuff, and it got the job turned into this dead seriousness every day where I pick people up. I'm
Right.
like, hey, how you doing today? You know, and all stuff. And they're like, oh, my son died, or like my husband OD, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god. So every single day it was just like beat down.
Well, that's a fucking bummer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I definitely can like that weight of the seriousness and all that. And I ended up like
Yeah.
leaving because like a little girl like had been um
Oh,
she had been
yeah.
yeah she kind of got murdered. But anyway, the ended up being I was like, all right, I'm fucking out, you know, and I'm
Yep.
done with that shit.
Bye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just because
Yeah.
that weight was like too much, and I did like a couple like paintings about it, just to yeah, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm glad that you're able to like keep it light with like when you're like a swirl of like death and
Yeah.
that's usually around this kind of usually with this kind of
I
stuff.
do. Yeah. I need the fun, I think, and the fun makes it more. It's not that I don't enjoy it otherwise, but if everything is so serious all of the time, like, I mean, I don't know what a serious tattoo would be. I was just thinking about it and I was like, okay, it would be like infinity symbols. If you were only doing fucking infinity
Oh
symbols
shoot, yeah,
day in and day out, I know, right? Then you're like, great, I hate this. But if you're like, cool, I'm going to take an infinity symbol and I'm going to turn it into a penis or, whatever, then you're like,
yeah, yeah.
I did that. I still gave you what you wanted, but also it was a little bit
Mm-hmm.
fun for me. um, so a lot of the readings that I offer will be a little more on the sarcastic side. You'll get the message that you need, but filtering it through a lens of sarcasm and swears makes it enjoyable for me. But it is a lot. It's like with your taxi driving thing, it is a lot to hear the worst part of people's lives day in and
Mm-hmm.
day out. It's almost like being a therapist that isn't being paid
Yeah,
to be a therapist,
yeah,
right? Like,
yep.
because I know intimate details about people's lives, and I make it a point not to share those, but also, yeah, keeping the fun is an important part of the
Mm-hmm.
process because if it stops being fun, then like, what are you doing?
Right, and
I could get a regular people job for not
yep.
fun.
And I could
That's-
be fucking oppressed and mad all day doing that.
yes, exactly,
And
exactly. So.
So if
Finding
you're
ways to keep it enjoyable.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're doing it through with this lens, how does that affect the readings then? Because if you're like have this like kind of fun like vibe or like little
Right.
sarcastic stuff, and if you're attracting entities or people or beings or whatever, right? Do you see like return return beings, I guess, that are more into
Right.
like what you do?
Yeah, so I will say that sometimes the tone gets set for me. Like I have some readings that are meant to be more serious,
Mm-hmm.
and the description is more serious. The sarcastic ones will almost always on my page. You can tell that they're not meant to be. Like they're meant to be a little bit more lighthearted. But I've had people book the more lighthearted readings, and when I flipped the cards over, they were so serious that I was like, "Hey, we're taking this. This is
Yeah.
this is important." So I've told the person, this reading is meant to be fun, but you also really need to hear this. And so I'll kind of let the cards dictate, or whoever's coming through the cards dictate the tone of the reading. I do say, like, I do joke around a lot, but almost all of my readings are they're meaningful
Mm-hmm.
in whatever way, shape, or form they turn out. Like I have one that's a zombie apocalypse reading. Come to me if you want to know your odds for surviving the zombie apocalypse. That's pure nonsense, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, you could argue, could the zombie apocalypse happen? Of course, it could. Is it
Mm-hmm.
happening right now? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you will get insights about yourself still, even though it's meant to be funny. It's still like, are you an overthinker? Because the way that you get stuck in your own head would directly affect your odds of survival for a zombie. So that is a long-winded way of saying it depends on the circumstance. But if it is meant to be, like if there is something that really needs to be said and it needs to be said with a serious tone,
Mm-hmm.
I cut out the nonsense and just say, okay,
Uh,
it will deliver the message as you intend.
Kelly, don't cut yourself short. You'll do great, I'm sure.
I believe in you, Kelly.
Yeah,
Get an axe. That's all you really need.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So if you're is if like you brought this up earlier, like a land, what would you say, land spirit?
Land spirit. Yeah.
So I had read a long time ago. I think I was doing an album cover for a band, and I'd read about how I have zero details. I'm a big picture guy. I just remember concepts, right? Um, our history class would be like, I know what this painting means, but I can't tell you when or who did it, right? So
Right. Yes.
they monks or whoever would bury heads for a certain amount of time, and then we pulled them out. They could invoke spirits of the planet into the heads and then speak to the planets, right?
Right. Right.
So if you're speaking to a land spirit, like how does it like differ from a normal spirit? I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, because I'd assume like a land
Right.
spirit would have like a different kind of outlook and different kind of way of communicating versus a typical like, oh, grandma, she kind of sounds,
Grandma,
yeah,
Granny, she loves apple pie and
yeah,
crochet.
yeah.
Um, so I will say that land spirits will feel the different type of spirits, the different types of energies that you can associate with, that you can speak to, they will have a different feeling to them. So like a lot like you could talk to me and you could talk to another tarot reader, but you'd be able to tell the difference, like even if it's just through text. You're like that. Or like, okay, here's a better example. The scam accounts. Those are a real problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where there's like clone accounts of me. So it's my face, it's my content, but it's not me actually speaking. And they'll send messages that are like, Grand Rising, I'm a love expert, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You open that and you're like, but something about this is not right because it doesn't feel like me. Right.
Yeah.
Or that could be anybody applied to your life. If you've had a spam anything sent from anybody that you know, you're like, is that you though? when you're communicating with spirits, it's the same sort of concept where it's like, are you? What are you? And that once you learn to recognize the energy signatures, it's like, right, you are a land spirit. So to me, a land spirit feels more wild than like a typical ghost. Like speaking to a ghost feels a lot like talking to another person.
Yep.
Like technically, you could be some form of a ghost right now because you're not physically in front of me. You are
Mm-hmm.
just a picture on a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like that. It feels like you're talking to another human. But if you were talking to a land spirit, it feels a little bit more wild and a little bit more intense than it would be a human. So you're like, well, that's something.
Yeah.
That's a
Because,
feeling.
yeah, I guess because their perspective would be so vastly, wildly different than,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah.
So, are there any other are there any other like kind of like feelings that you can kind of like sort of name with the, because you got the land spirits and you got like the, you know
Mm-hmm.
human spirit? Is there anything else that you've like kind of pinpointed in the menagerie of
A menagerie.
all
Yeah,
the
so
things?
I've talked to deities. I don't do a lot, sorry, my dog's barking in the background. I don't do a lot of deity work myself, but I have a lot of friends who work with deities and they'll ask for a message. So deity work, that feels different too. That's and the fae, the fairy, the fair folk, also feel very different, and that's the one that will freak people out because everybody knows you don't fuck with the fae.
Mm-hmm.
But I've read for that before, so I can recognize that. And recently, it was a surprise to me too. But recently, I read for someone who had like an elf-like creature in their house. They like saw it. I was reading for them, and I got a visual, and I drew a picture, and they were like, "Yeah, that's what it looks like." I was like, "Cool, cool, 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 cool. This is weird, but all right,
Yeah.
let's go with this."
uh,
Um, yeah, and I would say I have not come across a lot of like dark energy, dark entities, anything like that. I have come across a few, and that's a different energy too. I feel like if it's something darker, you pretty much
yeah, usually
immediately know.
that's,
Yeah, I just a DMT elf that crossed over.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
ears.
so
So what does deity work even mean? Like, you just like reach out to
so
them for certain
yeah, like
words?
they well, like they'll worship deities or they'll like work with deities too. It's different because paganism is so different from Christianity,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't necessarily label myself a pagan, but I also don't label myself a Christian anymore either. So, but I would associate it with the same terms, and that you have a authority figure that you look to for help and inspiration.
Mhm.
Is the so they'll like Thor, for example. You work
Perfect.
with Thor,
Yeah.
you will ask Thor for help or whatever. So I could go to Thor and be like, "Sup, Thor," much more
Mhm.
respectfully than than I've just done this. But for the purpose of entertainment, "Sup, Thor, sup." What do you want to say to my friend over here? And I'll pull cards and get the message, and it's much more serious than making it sound like here. But that's basically it. It's just a different form of worship than what
Mhm.
most of us are used to.
It's funny because like every single time like you talk about this stuff, like I'm just painting the picture. I'm like of Thor being like he's getting these like mind emails from everybody being like, "Hey, what about this? What about this?" And you're just like,
Thor, hey,
you,
Thor,
yeah,
Thor, Thor,
hey,
Thor,
hey,
Thor. Yep,
uh,
yep. But
so,
it increased a lot after the Marvel movies too.
oh,
I wonder how many people are like thinking of Thor as Chris Hemsworth
yeah,
and not a redheaded Viking. Or...
uh, read, I read this comic book, and I think what's it called? I'll remember in like 20 minutes. But basically, it is the Department of fuck. I wish my friend Rich was in here. The Department of something, right? Basically, it is a and it's a little bit more like artsy and it's a little bit more like metaphorical with stuff. So it's not straight up like it's not Savage Dragon. Uh, but basically, it's they've a department was formed in the government where they the things that people believe become real. So it's their job to
Right.
either push or pull like those aspects of like society. So like, let's say like Bigfoot or something like that. It'll be like, okay, somebody really believes in it, and like so they'll see it, and then maybe somebody else will see it, and that'll make that whole like belief in that system. So it just like spreads and like makes it real, and it actually
Yes.
physical reality.
Yeah. No, I actually do believe that that can happen, that if you put enough belief behind something, it can become real. And there are stories, I've done this to myself before, where if you believe that you are super haunted, like you really believe that there is some sort of haunting going on, you
Mm-hmm.
can accidentally haunt yourself in the process. And it's not that it doesn't make it any less real technically because everything you're experiencing is real, but the source is coming from you. Makes it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit tricky to work out what's happening, but yeah, collective belief, I feel like, does do a lot.
Well, there's the owner of my shop. She grew up in a home that was like super haunted, and but now her mom and her like nephew live in like a house, and like that's super haunted. And it's like changed different places and all that. So I remember talking
Yeah.
to her mom, being like, "You sure it's not you that's doing this?"
Are you sure it's not you?
Yeah.
Are you doing this? Is this you to you? Yeah.
I've always loved all this stuff, and I've never encountered anything whatsoever. I've gone to the most haunted places in like New England, never seen anything. And she's
Right.
like, it's because you want it so much. And I was like, well,
It's because you want it so much.
yeah, I'd
You
be
know
like,
what? I
I
relate
want
to that so much.
a demon to scratch my face, so I have something to
show
be like,
show me that you're real.
yeah,
I would like to take a picture of this scratch on my face
yep,
and post
right
it to my
here,
Instagram and say, check it
yep, yeah.
out.
All those like
Yeah.
ghost hunting shows have those. Like, oh, scratching my back. I'm like, just one, just give me one.
Yep.
On
Just one. Yep.
June 4th, me and like six of my friends or five of my friends are going up to a fort. And what they do, it's just like you pay tickets, and you pay for tickets. You go,
Yeah. I
you
like those.
eight. It's like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. They take you to the most haunted place in the places in there. So it's the first one I've ever done that's like that structure. So I'm excited to like maybe see something if it's already like, hey, we
Fingers
know this is
crossed.
haunted. We see stuff all the time, and I was like, all right, point my eyes to where it needs to go because I just want to see something.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, I feel the same way about shadow people. I really like I know that shadow people scare most people, but I'm like,
Hmm.
I would very much like to see a shadow person. Preferably not when I'm asleep in my bed, but like if I was on a ghost hunt and I looked over and I saw a shadow person, oh,
Yeah.
that'd be the best. That'd be the best night ever. It would be amazing. Um, and I do agree that sometimes we want to see something so bad, and like I'm a weird mixture of the two, where like I really, really, really would like to see some things, but then also I'm like, okay, I'd like to see a ghost if I'm on a ghost hunt, if I'm in the house and I look over and I see a woman in period garb, 100% there for that. I
Hmm.
don't want to wake up and see a ghost from my bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you know what?
Uh,
Not into that. So I feel like I'm sending
right.
mixed signals there.
You'll get.
But yeah, I do think that sometimes like the desire to see something can accidentally like block things out.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like I really, really, really would love to see this thing. I want to see a shadow person so fucking bad. Have I seen one? No,
Mhm.
I have not.
Yep. And I
Yep.
know Mike in the comments. I know him, and he has seen a shadow person, and he just said like it
Awesome.
sucks. And
I'll
uh,
pay someone to stand in the forest for you. Thank you very much.
yeah,
Much obliged.
yeah,
Much
thank you.
obliged. I would see it and be like, fuck
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Don't tell me it's staged.
Don't tell me. I
I
don't want to know.
Yep.
Let me believe this.
Yeah. Hold on to it and be like, yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. There was me and the girlfriend were apartment hunting a couple years ago, and we had went down into the basement, and it's flooding, and all of a sudden the person showing it like was on their phone. They didn't care. I'm like, all right. So we had gone to we opened up like this door. It was between like a wood cellar, whatever. It was like two doors. You open up one door,
Right.
and then scrawled on the door it says, "Good luck with the ghosts, 2016."
All right. That's
I was,
something you want to see for sure.
right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it was the first time I ever thought like, do I want to deal with this on a daily basis?
No, you
Yeah,
don't.
like
I
I
will answer that for you right now. You don't.
appreciate
You
it.
don't.
Thanks.
It
Yeah,
sounds great. It sounds great. But yeah, the amount of times that I woken up and being like, there is someone fucking in my room right now. Like, not literally fucking, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I will wake up and process it as like a living flesh and blood person in my room with me. And I'll wake up like,
Yeah.
look around and be like, there is no threat here. Cool. We're going back to sleep. It's not cool. If they could stay where they belong, stay in the
Yeah.
graveyard, stay at the haunted buildings. Why are
Yeah.
you coming? Why are
If
you
like
coming here?
technology progresses and we can get like a ghost jar to like keep
I know.
pets or something like that, I'm sure they'd
That'd
love.
be kind of cool. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'd ask their permission first to be
Yeah.
like, do you want to be my ghost friend forever and ever?
Well, for like maybe like 60, 70 years, you know, you got eternity,
Yeah.
so why the fuck not?
Until we get tired of each other. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the rule. You're tired of me, I'm tired of you. Be free, ghost.
Mm-hmm. So with that, on that same tip, has there ever been like a time that like when you're doing a reading or something, then all of a sudden something is just like, fuck it, I'm out of here, where it just completely lose like air gets taken out of the room and you're just like, okay, they just completely rejected all questions.
They are gone here. I haven't had that exactly, but I have had less than willing spirits to talk. So like, there's been at least two or three who like made me prove myself to them, which
Hmm.
was really weird. First, because like they made me like answer the initial questions. They're like very standoffish, very like, I'm gonna tell you, but I'm not gonna tell you why you need to know. You deliver this information and then we'll see. It depends. It depends on you.
Yeah.
So I do my best when it feels like that, and I'm honest about it and being like, I don't know. They're not like super happy with me poking around in here, but like, let's keep going. Let's see if they will warm up to me. And more often than not, in my experience, they have changed their tune, so to speak, and been like, oh, so you really do just want to say, like, whatever random shit I'm telling you is what you want to tell them. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yes, that is what I would like. Tell me the weird stuff that happened to you. I will tell other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm here for. So yeah, I haven't had anyone like straight up leave, but I have had a few that were like, I don't know about this one. What are you doing? This whole vibe. Who are
Yeah.
you? What are you asking around for? So that makes it interesting because I do try to be honest when that happens and be
Yeah.
like, sorry.
Yeah. Who's
Yeah.
this flesh person prodding
Who
around
is this?
in our
Who is
shit?
this
You know?
fleshy? This fleshy woman has
Mm-hmm.
very personal questions for me. Who are you, first of all? um, yeah. So I think that's it. I've had more problem with spirits not wanting to leave than anything,
Mm-hmm.
than like just like straight up disappearing. And maybe it's the way that I interact with them, where I'm like, if you want to talk about this, it'd be cool, you know.
Yeah.
But I have had a few that did not want to leave when the reading was over. And I will finish a reading. I will say, thank you for speaking to me. This communication is closed, whatever you want to say to like finish the reading. Okay, goodbye. Go back to your house now. And they'll be like, but I like it here.
Yeah.
I'd like to hang out longer, please and thank you. And then I'm like, okay.
So how do you
Doesn't work out for me.
kind of nudge them away?
My favorite method is, this is very, very serious, very precise. I tell them to fuck off. I, that is literally the most effective way. If you are ever somewhere and a spirit is like bothering you, literally out loud say, you can fuck right off. Or
All right.
whatever you want to say. Sorry for all the fucks that I'm dropping tonight. But
Who gives
yeah, there,
fuck it.
who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? That would be, I will ask them to leave. I will tell them to leave. If they still don't leave, then I'll like smoke cleanse or something like that. But generally speaking, they don't stick around too long
All right.
if you're like super insistent about it. But especially in this case where it's like I was asking them to come in and not like they weren't already here. That's different. So
Hmm.
they were more like,
A
hey,
spirit with manners that'll be like, all right, I'll take off then. You know.
I bid you adieu.
Yeah.
I bid you adieu. I wonder sometimes if the rules are different when you're like calling them up versus like if I moved in here and there was already a ghost here, it'd be like, fuck you, this is my house. So,
So
yeah.
Mike, in next Saturday when we're on the ghost hunt, we can just
Yeah.
tell them to fuck off. So when we get work,
Just tell them to
fine.
just tell them to fuck right off, and
Yeah,
please tell me how this works for you, because
perfect.
that'll be fun for me to hear.
So, uh, what do you have any like readings that have like stood out to you that were like kind of like a little like mind kind of blowing? I'm sure you've had a lot, but is there any that are just kind of like, wow, this is really either reaffirming of your entire like thing you're doing, or kind of like things that are so kind of like out there that you're like, oh man. I mean, I get the whole like,
Right.
what's your craziest tattoo you've ever done? And I was like, well, I'm in a custom shop, so we don't.
What's your craziest tattoo?
Yeah,
Right. So that will, I mean, I did one recently that was actually crazy, but that one was more personal. So I do try, if I've read cards for you, I don't share
of course.
what I
Yeah.
learned. But I will say that I did a reading. I taught two of my ghost hunting friends recently, and they would be cool with me sharing the story. So, two of my ghost hunting friends that I read cards for them on location. We've done EVP sessions together where I've sat with the cards, they've used the devices. It always works really well. It's amazing. Um, and they both bought one of my favorite decks to use. So they asked if I would FaceTime with them and teach them how to read cards the way that I read them for spirit communication, for mediumship, right? Um, so I did that, and then it was crazy to me because we were each picking up on slightly different versions of the story. I picked a spirit that I knew that they were familiar with to practice on. It's a place that we have all been to physically, and they ghost hunt there often enough that I was like, this is a great starting point for you because you already know him. You already know what he feels like. You know what it's like to communicate with him. Um, and that one was particularly crazy to me because I was a little bit out of it that day. I was a little bit tired, and I was like, I don't know if I am fully picking up on what's being told. Like, am I jumping to conclusions here because this is what I want to think? And then, but their cards came through and they kind of all will tie together. And if you're on the right track, everything will make sense and everything will line up. So even though we were getting slightly different versions of the
Mm-hmm.
story, the facts were all the same. So the cohesive narrative was all like one story,
Yeah.
and that is crazy to me too, because that is three separate people asking three separate, or technically we're asking the same thing, but like I wasn't asking it as a group. We were like, I was shuffling, asking in my head. They were shuffling, asking their heads. And all of our cards were painting the same picture. And that's to me when I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't really argue with that one. And
Yeah.
I like to argue. I like to argue about things like that because I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
Is this a ghost or do you live in a very drafty old house, you know?
So, I think that's awesome. Like just to have that like reaffirming kind of like thing that comes through. You're like, all right, that's fucking cool. But
Yep.
am I? I want to make sure I'm not confusing because I'm just when I'm. I think I might be like not confusing it, but like I'm just like always equating tarot with mediumship with it. So if there's
Right.
like
So they are separate things.
right,
Yeah.
so can you kind of like
Mhm.
explain that to me? Because I think I'm always going to
Mhm.
oh you're speaking to a certain spirit, a certain thing to do this. So what would instead non mediumship tarot be then? What would that be like? If
So yeah, so
regular, but
mediumship tarot would be if you want to speak to a specific spirit, or you want to speak to a loved one, you want to speak to a specific person. Regular tarot is just you are open to seeing what the universe itself, and you can interchange the word the universe for God,
right.
whatever you want, it divine being.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two main differences in that like you are speaking to someone, but if you're not doing a mediumship reading, you're not necessarily trying to get like, I'm not trying to deliver you a message from your grandpa. I'm just telling you what the cards are telling me about you, if that makes sense. So it's like, you're having a shit day. Let me ask my cards about it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what's going on. But that's the main difference there is mediumship is communication with a spirit itself. And if you wanted to think about it like this, you could think about tarot as like an elaborate form of prayer, which like gross, not a fan of that. But
But it helps
you
like
know,
gets the wheels turning.
it helps get the wheels turning because it is hard for I know a lot of people who knew me in my Mormon days who are now like, you do
What?
what now? What? I'm sorry. How
Yeah,
did you get from here to here? And like, I don't know what to tell you,
yeah.
but I can tell you some cool shit. So, um, that is the way that I would generally try to say it is that like mediumship, you're talking to a specific person, and a general tarot reading or just like a normal tarot reading, you're talking to spirit itself. You're talking to God, you're talking to the universe, you're talking to whatever, and that's where your answers are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to a very specific, I'm not asking your grandpa, I'm asking the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So if like let's say stupid little me picks up a tarot deck and is like, all right, let me get these, and I pull these cards.
yeah.
What attributes like because I think I've read a couple things where you're like the only one that's coming the hanged man, right? It could
Right,
mean
right.
like 40 different things
It can. It
depending
can mean
on
a lot of different things. Yeah.
like if it's one way or the other or that kind of thing. How
Depending on the context, if it's upright, if it's reversed. Yeah.
right? So when you get something like that card or any other card, for it doesn't really matter, but any card, is it like kind of like is there a set of rules that are already on the deck or the cards or the certain cards that are like kind of just
Right. Yeah.
help kind of steer your brain? You're like, all right, hanging man means like gotta do dishes.
Yes.
I don't fucking know.
Oh, change your perspective. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So, each card will have a fairly assigned meaning. So, like I could pull the Ace of Pentacles from my traditional deck, and I could pull the Ace of Pentacles from this deck is called the Hush Tarot. It's gorgeous. But the guidebook is slightly different. However, you could read the Ace of Pentacles as the Ace of Pentacles no matter what. So an artist will change the imagery. Actually, I'll look for it. An artist can change the imagery, but in tarot, they do have a kind of set meaning. There's a little bit of leeway on there where like I would say that the Ace of Pentacles is a fresh opportunity being presented to you. If this was a career reading, I would say that is a very positive meaning to like a very positive career to have because Pentacles are all about money. So the Ace of Pentacles to me says, this is a good move. This is a good one. This is going to take ages. I should have picked a different card.
So I'm trying to think of
It
like
does.
the what's that card game that got super popular? That's just like the blank word. It's kind of like Mad Libs, but they like flipped it.
Oh, Cards Against Humanity?
Yeah. So I think of like maybe this is like a Cards Against Humanity, like the other way around.
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah,
and then
actually.
you put a card down and like it kind of fills in that little area, you know?
It does. That's a really good way to describe it. That is. And you could use if you really wanted to, you could use Cards Against Humanity as your as your little guide there. Um, but yeah, it's
I'm sure the entity
they
that you're
have
talking
set
to would become
meanings.
mad.
The entity that you're talking to.
My time with it.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I have this deck. Actually, I have two decks in front of me. I will just zoom in right there. This is a very serious deck right here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, clearly. This is slightly different, and this one is one of my favorites. So, there are definitely some decks with some humor to it, but like in general, certain cards will have certain meanings, but what you do with them is up to your intuition. So if you were like, "Hey Carly, is this job a good idea?" and I pulled the Ace of Pentacles, I'd be like, "Fuck yes, it's a good idea." Ace of Pentacles is pretty much always a good card. But what you do with the information, like what the card means, is up to your intuition a lot. And oh, here we go. Okay, so this is a perfect example because this is the same card but very different imagery. Um, and that would depend upon like talking to your client. Like, what is
Yeah.
going on with your client? There's comments on mine, so I can't tell if you guys can see this clearly. I think you can.
I can see it's just small on my screen, but yeah, I
Okay,
see how crazy. All right,
there
hold
we go.
pigeon.
Yeah, so this one is some sort of bird with like a hand that's all tangled up in the weeds,
Hmm.
and this one is like a fresh opportunity being presented to you. So it can depend on the deck you use and the artwork, but the biggest aspect of it is what are you picking up from the situation? Are you feeling like, if it's upright or reversed, that can mean different things too, but that is the biggest thing is know the set meanings. And I will say on that, like if you need to look it up, fucking look it up. That doesn't matter. But yeah, trust your gut is the
Yeah.
point of that.
All right. Huh. So when are you just like collecting decks to be like, oh, this is like just because you're fun. You're like, oh, let's see what this is,
This
or
is fun.
yeah, or do you have
Yeah.
any like intention where you're like, all right, I've got a serious client and I need to find out if they're an alcoholic. Let's see
I have a very serious, I have a mighty need. Um, so I buy my decks based off of the artwork. So,
yeah. I guess it doesn't matter.
I will,
Then.
yeah, it doesn't matter too much. Well, there's some like I bought this one purely for fun because I was like, this is
Yeah.
fantastic. I love this deck. Yeah, I'm in. But a lot of the other decks I will buy just based on the artwork. If I look at the artwork and it moves me or whatever, I'm like, great, this is the deck I need. But I can't remember what I was answering now. But the
Oh,
point is, this is how. Oh, collecting them just for fun.
mhm.
Um, right. So I own a lot of decks. I have at least 100 decks. I have a lot of decks. And I use the majority of them. And the ones that I don't use, I almost always end up passing on. So I do have some friends who just will buy decks just to own them, but I
Mhm.
kind of only tend to buy the ones that I would like to use. So that will depend on the tarot reader,
Hmm.
the answer will. But that's fine.
I guess like so just like I'd have a favorite like machine or something like that. It'd be like, oh,
Right.
this one like I feel like I get more results because like I'm more familiar with it,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
more comfortable with
Yes,
it rather.
exactly. Exactly like that. Yes, I
Yeah.
do have a few go-to decks that I'm like, this is my favorite. But on my Instagram page, I will try to like change it up a little bit because I'm like, we've been using this one a lot
Yeah.
recently. Maybe, maybe we should switch it up. So
So when did you start doing like the chalkboard stuff? Is that like your kind of because that seems like your signature kind of
that is, yeah,
style.
that's my signature thing. Um, I did the chalkboard from the start of my page, and I had a separate account before I opened the Village Tarot Witch. I had a different account that I used basically to document my paintings. Um, and I had an actual easel, but I like painting on the floor. So like I like sitting on the floor and painting on the floor. And I ended up taking the paintings onto the chalkboard and it's a whole thing, but like I was doing the painting page and I didn't really like it, but then I started posting my tarot readings and I already had the chalkboard there, so I was like, well, we might as well just try this. And that's how it came about. And then I opened the Village Tarot Witch and I was like, only chalkboards.
Yeah,
this is the this
have
is the
to like,
only way, but
yeah.
I am a visual person, so I like seeing like I'm not sure that I've done any recently, but I will outline them and I'll usually put an arrow and what the card means to me is what I'll put on my board. So yeah, it was a happy accident.
No, like I said before, like said, the whole aesthetic really was what drew me into like actually message you about the stuff. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I think your intention comes across great. So with you do the tarots, you do the mediumships, and you do the past life.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that like I'm missing with that you like kind of are there other like realms that you dive into with this kind of stuff or
No, that's about it. Those are definitely the areas that I'm best in. So like, um, I don't do a lot of love readings. I'm starting to offer a little bit more of those on my page, but yeah, those ones are complicated to me.
Is it
Those
because
aren't my
there's like
favorite.
multiple people involved, or
There's multiple people involved, but also, I was a self-taught tarot reader. So when I was learning, I was on Facebook groups and things like that, being like, "I'll trade readings with you. Would you like a reading?" And almost all the readings were, "Oh, my boyfriend's cheated on me 20 times,
yeah,
but I really love him," or "My girlfriend left me for another man, but I think that there's hope." And it just kind of it left a taste in my mouth. But it is true that there are multiple perspectives to take into account in a love reading, and it's not clear cut. I can't look at the cards and be like, this is your one and only, because they get to have a say in
mm.
that too.
So I feel
um
like stuff like that. Like I feel like that is predominantly what like maybe like tarot was for a long time for
yeah,
me, and I didn't
I
know
think
if
it was, yeah.
because it seems like a more like female oriented kind of
Hmm. It is.
genre or something like
Yeah,
that. But
no, I know what you're saying, and
yeah,
you're right. It is more heavily
mm.
dominated by women.
And I think because they're
Um,
more in. I mean, it's we generalize because we don't know how else to unpack things, right? But like,
I
a,
know, right?
like having more like a dominated by women, it's just more they're more like open with their feelings. It's more like a feeling kind of thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know where I was even going with that, but hey, whatever.
You know,
Yeah.
either way, either way. Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I follow some accounts who are strictly love reading accounts, but I feel like the more, not necessarily mainstream, but tarot is more of an accepted thing today, even than it was like a few years ago, right? Where now it's really opened the doors to be able to be like, hey, this is a really fun tool. Let's practice some psychology, or whatever you want to do with it. I feel like the way that culture and society has changed in general gives us as readers more free reign to
Mhm.
practice tarot readings the way that we would like, and not like a theme park attraction is
Mhm.
the
Well,
that's
people
the
are more open for introspection these days.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
And
especially I feel like post COVID too, everyone's like, huh, why am I like this?
yeah,
Turns out.
yeah, but everybody's ADHD, and
Everybody's
yeah,
ADHD. Yep. Pretty sure I am. So
yeah. I mean, every day my girlfriend will send me like a TikTok about it. I'm like, I get it, I know, I
yes,
know.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of creative people are some sort of neurodivergent and we just don't realize it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I'm sure like
yeah.
in 10 years there'll be like the spectrum of ADHD, and like we'll be able to like
Yep.
point even
I
more.
bet so. Yeah.
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 But so awesome. Do you I guess do you have any like do you want to like socials you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah. So right now, the biggest places that you can find me are Instagram. I'm the Village Tarot Witch, and I'm also on TikTok. And Pinterest now. Check me out,
The,
Pinterest.
Pinterest is the number one social media network, and I didn't even know that.
I I don't fully understand how to use Pinterest. I will not lie. Like I use it for myself. I'm like, "Ooh, love this." Pin
Yeah.
it. I don't know how to use it for like business purposes, but I'm learning. Um I am only the Village Tarot Witch. So if there is any underscore, if there's any extra letters or numbers,
21.
it
Yeah.
is not me. Yes, it's not me. I am only the Village Tarot Witch. I try to watermark everything that I do. Because the scam accounts are a real problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can find me for right now. And keep your eyes out because soon I will have a YouTube series coming out, but I'll post that to my socials too. So
Awesome.
that's for now. That's where to find me.
Well, Carly, I want to thank you for coming on, and this was awesome. And I feel like
Yeah, thank you.
whatever inkling I had for like this thing, it was like I always thought it was like kind of like like a little vibey kind of thing. I feel like it's that, but it's like so much. It's like a little bit more honed kind of um, way for people to either like figure out things about themselves or like their paths, stuff like
Yes,
that. Maybe use the spirit world to like get them to go a certain way with something. So I think I don't
absolutely.
fully 100% get it still, but I think I'm a little bit
That's
knowledge
okay.
is like a bit more, you know. So,
Yes, we can always do a follow-up. You can ask whatever questions you want, and I will try to answer them.
awesome.
So,
Well, this is fun.
yeah.
Thank you. If anybody's got any questions for Carly, now would be the time or before, but
Yes,
not.
now is the time.
I appreciate you coming on. So
Yeah, thanks for having me. This
yeah,
was fun.
yeah. All right. So I'll reach out, and if maybe we can follow up in a couple months or something like that. See where you're at, and
Yeah, that
figure it
sounds
out.
great.
Okay. All right, Carly. You
All
have a good
right.
night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Well, how awesome was that? So I feel like we got a good feel of what tarot is. I didn't, like I said before, I didn't really know, and I'm sweating so much right now. It's so hot right now. Whew. Yeah, and I'm glad that we got to get Carly on. So this was a fun show. And thanks everybody that gave tips to Carly. Much appreciated. So I'll send that out after we get everything squared away on here. So yeah, in a couple weeks, I think I'm gonna have Tim Christensen on, and we're gonna talk his adventures in the Amazon jungle. So that'll be pretty cool. And I think he's got a couple like ghost stories from his travels across overseas and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. But cool. So thanks everybody for stopping by. I'm gonna wrap it up and appreciate it. So I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks everybody. Take care.